let's talk about the DAO vote. So, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the community members have had a chance to look at everything before we turn on mainnet RC1. So there are four main elements to that. The first one is a letter drafted by our counsel, Jamelia Greer, on the need for and what sort of the purpose of the DAO and its entities are. So we've got that. The second item is the Genesis allocation. I've heard time and again, and I wanted to be sure I deliver on this, that everyone has a chance to look at all the data around the wallets and the token allocations before we activate those allocations on mainnet. So you're going to see all of that. The third thing is the DAO and the Corp operating agreement. So we are working on incorporating in Dubai, and we want to make sure that there is a clear sort of agreement between the DAO and the Corp on how it'll work together. I'm going to touch on that in just a moment, but the fourth thing is the DAO governing charter. So what we want to do is give you a chance to look at all these documents and then give us some feedback if there's any changes, etc. So we have a little bit of time for that, and then we essentially go to a vote, and the vote then determines if we move forward with the information as presented, or if the vote is a no, then that means we essentially get set back a bit, and I'll talk about that also. So getting back to the DAO Corp operating agreement, I want everyone to really understand the nature of this, because it's very easy. I see this all the time in Discord, is someone posits something which is generally coming from a place of not having facts, and then people treat that as facts, and then all of a sudden it balloons into something. So the reason we need to have a corp entity, that's the first question, is because in the real world, businesses have to enter into contractual agreements. And the laws of pretty much every country currently do not recognize a DAO as an entity that can enter into a contractual agreement. What is a contractual agreement? Well, it could be as simple as getting a bank account, or it could be getting a lease for some space, like we talked about gallery space, etc. Well, if you don't have a corporate entity, you can't enter those corporate agreements. Those contracts. So essentially, the purpose of our corporate entity is going to be at the beck and call of the DAO and do what the DAO says. So think of the DAO as a puppet master, if you will, for the corp entity, and the DAO says, go enter into this agreement, and the corp does that. So this is the main reason for it. Now, as a corporate entity, what's going to happen is that it's going to have the standard corporate stuff. It's going to have some shares, etc. But they are really there because that's how corporate entities work. The equity, etc. in this corporation has no value, no tangible value. So what we are planning right now is that corporation will have basically two signatories. There's myself and one member that we'll elect from the community. So you're going to elect one other person, and that becomes sort of the corp entity signers. And again, like I said, the entity basically won't do anything unless the DAO tells it, go do this, and it'll do that. So it's really just a formality, but it's important to have. The other reason to have it is because when we do things like booster sales, etc., what we want to do is ensure that the leadership is protected. So there's me primarily, and there's others also, etc. So I don't want to be personally liable for this. We need to have a corporate entity that's liable for those things, and that's the reason for it. So agreements, contracts, basically, and liabilities. Those are the two primary things. There's a third thing also, but it's more of a soft area, which is credibility. When you go to, let's say, a major gallery or a museum or whatever, they want to see a company. They want to see of the familiar titles that they have. They want to know that this is an entity that exists, an organization that exists, and so we want to have that also. So all of those things together. So now, what we have here is a folder, and in this folder we're going to put some documents for you to start reviewing. But before we go there, I want to tell you about the schedule for this. So first of all, you're going to see a lot of references to NDAO here. One of the things I've been talking a lot to people about is what kind of DAO we want to be. There are DAOs that are extreme DAOs where everything is done with proposals, etc. Let me tell you, that is a disaster for us. It's not going to work because, first of all, the types of people that we are catering to, like creators, etc., they are barely crypto native. They are barely crypto, not crypto native. And so what we want to do is sort of have a pathway to a full-fledged DAO. And so I consider this a nascent DAO. We are learning and figuring out how to do it. And so that's the NDAO. Also, the N stands for like a new renaissance. And also NDAO, when pronounced as NDAO, is we are endowing the world with art. So you're going to see a lot of references to NDAO from a marketing standpoint. And that's how we're going to position ourselves versus just being a full-fledged crypto native DAO. That's not us. It's not going to work. It'll fail miserably. All right, let's look at the DAO vote plan here. So starting this Tuesday, all the documents that you need to have available will be there for all the documents you need to review will be available. That doesn't mean they'll only be available then. We're actually starting today. The first document is already there and more will be added over the weekend. But the idea is that you have a chance to review some of these and give us your comments and feedback by 11:59 p.m. EST on the 5th. So Chris and the other YouTubers there, yeah, I had it in PST and I changed it to the real time zone to EST there. So there we go. Comments and feedback. So that's a couple days for you to look it over and, see anything you want to give some feedback, you see some problems, we can talk about it and change it. Then on the 6th at 1 p.m. EST, Friday, the voting begins. And then the voting goes on for through the weekend and through Monday and ends on Tuesday at 1 p.m. And then on that same Tuesday, the 10th, after an hour, we will announce the votes. So what does that mean in terms of voting? Well, if the vote is yes, then we proceed with the current plan for mainnet RC1 and booster sale for October. This saying yes basically means that in the month of October, you're going to have a mainnet blockchain and you're going to have a booster sale. That's basically what it means. Saying no means that more discussion is needed, more review is needed, and this means that we will not be able to make mainnet or the booster sale. It also means that we are on very, very thin ice at that point, because without the booster sale, we won't be able to have any capital to sustain ourselves. So we might be able to go for a little bit longer, maybe mid-November or so, but that's going to be it. So again, none of the information, etc., that you're going to see should be a huge surprise. We are trying to keep the DAO governance to be focused mainly in the area of treasury, like financial controls. So there are good financial controls for how money is spent, because that's where this has all originated, with bad management practices around that. So we'll have good management practices around the treasury. It also will be around the DAO roles, who, what is the process for getting someone in a role? What will their stipend be? And so on and so forth. All those things, how people get elected, for example. And then also anything related to the protocol. So one of the primary functions of the DAO is to determine the direction of the protocol. So if we decide, we're going to change this feature in the protocol, it's got to come from the DAO and people are going to vote on it. That's basically all that's all about. But really, what you're seeing here in this vote is a culmination of a lot of the work that has been put into it. And finally, an opportunity to look at real data, look at the real numbers, etc., and say, yep, I agree with this, or I don't agree with this. That's going to be your choice to vote. We're going to have a simple majority here. We're not looking for a super majority or anything like that, because generally we don't even know most of the people who are eligible to vote. We have just a wallet address, and hopefully they are in Discord so we can find them. But yeah, they would be voting, and we'll have a simple majority vote.